Hello and welcome to the USTA Association's 2021 Beginner Tournament. Today we've got a match between Ineria and pwhaug. They've both played two matches against other opponents. Ineria has won one and drawn the other. pwhaug has won both of them. I'm Sam, otherwise known as Caecilius on the Discord server, and I'm joined today by Nitzel.
Hiya.
So we're just waiting for the match to start. Be with you in a moment.
Well, the first piece has been played by Ineria, who is playing as white at the moment for this game, and pwhaug chose adjacent corners. And we already see a deviation from the standard mirroring, but just a slight one, going to the far side for black. And it looks like at the moment both are going for a horizontal threat, black just basically covering it and playing a little bit defensive.
And so now we've got white playing b4 after black's b3, and now what black seems to be doing is trying to build a more vertical threat whilst blocking this horizontal threat from white with their flats. They're just covering each other at the moment, which is kind of standard. You want to keep tabs on your opponent's line. And now we see the capstone come out from black. Ineria plays an f4.
So I think the capstone for white is in a slightly dangerous place. If white captures to the left from b4 left, would take it a little bit out of the game. So far that hasn't happened, so maybe it's a good placement then.
Yep, we've got a tack threat, which has just been quashed by black from there. Let's see. I think for white, yeah, that was the most important thing to do. You need to make sure that vertical threat from black has a bit of difficulty. I think
it's also providing white with an anchor on the A file, so the horizontal threat isn't gone yet.
I think for white, the most important thing to do now is get your capstone out in a strong position. And I think that's a pretty strong position there.
Yeah, I like that.
That is both. It's not isolated, and it can't be isolated easily. It's continuing. It's helping white build a road threat, and it's coming near to black's vertical threat. So it's doing quite a few things at the same time.
I think now black is forcing white to do what white wanted to do anyways, which is capture over onto b2 with the capstone, as this is a tag threat. White might actually also capture up with a1 to a2 to create a tag threat on its own.
Yeah, maybe. Ooh.
Interesting play.
We see a b3 come across, which is a attack threat. However, I'm not sure if I like that move, because it gets white into a stack war which it won't win. I could see a wall being placed by white to try and gain some flats back, but I don't think that would be particularly good in terms of tempo.
Yeah, that's true. Depending on how black captured.
Oh,
interesting.
And black misses
that's the game. That's the game. That was very quick.
One. It happens like that
play
sometimes.
By both of them, I think. And yeah, we really need to practice seeing those easy road threats that you just miss when you focus on your own thing, isn't it?
It's one of the most important things, especially when you're playing in a tournament game. You just need to make sure that you're not letting anything simple. You're not ignoring anything, basically.
Exactly. It's your turn. First thing you do is, can the other one win in this move? And it's so easy to miss. Congratulations to Ineria, and we'll be back for the next game, I guess,
Yep,
in
see
a
you
few
then.
minutes. The standard mirror for the vertical one. They keep continuing that one, and one of them soon has to deviate, probably black with a capstone on E3, E4, maybe a little bit further south.
They keep on going for white. I think this is where we see the capstone come out. Or not, we see a
No, it's not a
D1
capstone,
placement.
it's just a flat.
That's
Interesting
good
to see what's white going to do in that case.
Yep, that's just a
Nice,
simple
just connecting.
E2 trying to connect to there to F1.
I see a very good spot for a capstone though. Nice, yep. I like that.
And so the reason why this capstone is so good is that, one, it can't be easily isolated because it's next to two white flats, and two, it can very easily completely cut off white's vertical threat if it comes down to the left, which I'm assuming we're going to see now.
Yes, this is a tag threat, so white has to make a capture. Interesting. On the other hand, that's a very safe capture because it's right next to the capstone. Well, we see another one come out immediately.
And now I'm assuming we're going to see, yep, we see the hard cap from black just to kind of avoid the white capstone getting anywhere near that stack.
And freeing the prisoner.
Yep.
That's a tricky situation for black now, I think. White can just build around the capstone. Oh, or go for another horizontal one.
That's good. Yeah, black's quite fragmented at the moment. The flats are all over the place. White has a bit more of like a concentrated line.
Yeah. I think that was a good placement of black on going to b3, because if white had gotten that, that would have been very close to another tag threat. So staying safe. They're creating some kind of a checkboard or chessboard pattern there.
I find with the chessboard patterns, the person who gains the most from it is the person who captures first.
That's what I feel as well, yeah. And it's really tricky to find the right moment to do the capturing.
Yep. Do it too prematurely, and maybe your advantage is lost. But if you do it right on, then you completely isolate and break up the other line. Because you can see here, now white's horizontal threat is completely gone because of that capture downwards. Okay, place at B3 now, and now I can see another horizontal threat coming on.
For white, yeah.
Yep, if you move the capstone at C3 up to C4.
Black himself is just building or continuing on his horizontal threat, so white needs to prepare for that. Or be prepared to capture it maybe on the B file, or moving the capstone over. That's all, at the moment, a good option.
I think I'd like to, for white, if you want to stop that horizontal threat, I think it'd be D over to C. Because you don't want to move any of your A, B, or C pieces downwards, because that's ruining your horizontal threat.
Yep, that's true. And also black can't really capture with onto C2 with B2 then, because it already has a white prisoner in there that white would then be able to liberate with his capstone.
Yep. And so for white, we see an E3.
Oh, that's sneaky. It's going around probably for another vertical threat, but also at the same time a horizontal one, so that black probably eventually has to capture up with his capstone.
Yep. I feel like white's still in a bit of a dangerous position at the moment, though.
Yeah,
because
I could see it maybe e4 being a good placement for black to just stop white from coming around there. Instead, it makes a threat on its own. And stopping the move that we just talked about, d2 left, that's no longer possible.
and so I think the best move here is e2 across to f2 once again, or f1 over f2.
That's a tuck threat for white.
It is. I didn't actually see that at first. Yeah.
So black has to be careful to not be too carried away with its own thing, because I think what do you think is the best move now? Maybe, or a good move at the moment? Throwing over the capstone to the right and is basically just capturing E and F.
I could see maybe a wall d3.
No, that doesn't work. Oh yeah.
A wall
Sorry,
d3
yes.
because then you
Yeah, it
can't
does
get
work.
captured across. Or we see the capstone. I like that one actually.
Black is also with yeah.
We see the capstone being thrown across. That's got an attack threat for black, and the white recapture over here will be immediately taken back by the capstone.
Yeah, and probably putting the black capstone into D2 again. So it'll be fairly tricky for white to do anything in the F1 corner to stop that threat. So it'll have to capture around A and B file, I think.
Though, once again, we could see a wall d2, or we see the capstone. No walls here for me. We see the capstone moving down. And now for black.
I think.
Oh, go ahead.
I think for pwhaug as white, that's not a bad move. It's definitely giving the capstone a little bit of mobility, so it can actually throw up to c4 and then potentially connect something up there.
Black's definitely in a worse position at the moment, I'd say. I'm trying to find the next threat for black, how they can keep on building. There's the horizontal threat still, but it's very weak at this point. And apart from that, there's really nothing for black at the moment.
I think it's time for black probably to go defensive at the moment, put a wall or two down, and stop white's tempo advantage that it has at the moment.
Because white has two relatively developed threats, with the vertical one in the D file and the horizontal one in the 3 and 4 file.
Both players need 3 moves to complete their threat, so in that regard, I guess black has the advantage, but looking at the placement of the stones, it doesn't really feel like that. I just saw that white's also able to capture the stack with his 3 prisoners on e2, so that's actually a move that white could consider.
Yeah, that would
leaving
be
a
good.
black flat behind.
That would
and
be
I think,
good for
and then
white.
it could just throw it back. It doesn't. It's building towards the vertical threat, the horizontal one.
And then we've got Simon also chiming in, tossing the cap to e2 would be great here. Yep, I agree.
What we just talked about, yeah, that would be really nice. And then throwing it back or horizontally, vertically, that would all be good options.
Instead, we see a d3 move from white, so that is furthering the vertical threat and giving the horizontal threat a bit more weight. So you can see there in the 3 file, it's just getting a bit more developed. Black's definitely in a sticky situation here.
I think so too, yeah. If black keeps placing flats, I could imagine that goes very wrong for it.
Might want to get... I think black might want to get the capstone back in the game. because it's very isolated at the moment and it's not doing anything.
Yep. On the other hand, Ineria has read no head coder's guide, I think, so maybe she's trying to not capture as much as possible.
Yep, I feel...
And that's definitely difficult to decide when to do it, when not to do it.
Especially as a beginner, though I feel captures with the capstone, and that is attack
Sneaky
threat from
threat,
white.
sneaky threat.
Captures with the capstone are better than captures with flats. Oh, and then Ineria does see it, and so that threat is stopped in its tracks. And the capstone's more in the game; it's less isolated.
And the white one is pinned, so it can't go vertically.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Simon agrees with us. That was a good move.
White playing at f3. I was about to say that, Simon, before you steal my thunder. I was about to say f3. That means, yep, we see it from pwhaug, and that is a attack threat for white. You can see the capstone at c2 moving up. Now, what's black's response? It's got quite a few. Black has to capture, but there are quite a few options around here.
The issue with all the captures is that white's influence is so strong that all of these can be recaptured, and it's only giving white the time to put a wall in there.
Mm-hmm. Simon,
So
black needs to keep the capstone where it is. I agree, because then white can just jump over and go over to there.
Yep. I think I like that move because it gives black the option to put a wall into c3, and white cannot move his capstone up.
Mm-hmm. But I can definitely see white just placing a flat at c3, and then
yep, that would continue the threat
for another attack threat. And we do see the flat at c3, and that is another attack threat. What can black do about it?
Capture c4 to the right.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe c4 downwards. Okay.
All of the capstone moving upwards. Okay. I feel the problem with that one is that your capstone loses quite a lot of mobility because that's a lot of flats you've got under there. And
yeah, but it's not. It can't do much.
As Simon just said, again, placing at c1 means you've got a vertical threat, and the capstone might need to come across. Basically, it's just keeping the tempo for white, keeping black on the back foot so they can't make another threat.
Oh, that's another attack threat.
Mm-hmm.
If white moves b4 to the right, that goes into the vertical one.
See.
So if black captures over with d1 to c1, that would destroy his own or her own vertical threat. So I think that's not what Ineria wants to do. But it's really tricky to decide where to go with this one here.
A c4 to d4 means that white can start building up in the b file, which isn't ideal.
Okay, so she does that capture down there, which will give white's capstone a little bit more power if it takes it, being one.
But it does take it a bit away from the action. Is the problem there?
That is true. Maybe black's hoping to be able to put a wall in there in that case. Mm-hmm. And white cannot leave the black flat behind to avoid a wall being placed at c2. because then black would just close the road.
Yep. Okay. White might also place at D1 or B1. Try and maybe do it a bit slower. Try and just put more flats down, get more influence in the area, so it's not completely in a sea of black flats, and that would still progress the threats because you can see a D1 moving across to C1 later, and then that's attack threat.
Yeah, correct. That would be 3 moves for road, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. And I can't see black threatening anywhere near that in 3 moves.
No, before it moved the black flat over, it had a vertical threat that would be a road in 3 moves. But it was just lagging behind and then took the decision to capture over C1.
Mm-hmm. The white places in E4. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's to continue the horizontal threat, and it can throw up the capstone or just capture up with C3 to C4 to complete that in 2 moves. Simon says he's not impressed. We'll see how the game turns out.
Okay. For black here. What do you like for black here, Nitzel?
I'm trying to find a good place to put a wall down for black, but I don't see one.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay, so black is going after the horizontal threat then.
Well, you could also...
I find... Yeah?
It does kind of tackle the vertical threat as well. But, well, it can't do both of them at the same time. So I'm assuming the wall's going to capture downwards now. Just to stop. The wall's just in a bit of a difficult position here, is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it captures down to A3, then white places a flat on A4, and it hasn't really done anything. So I don't think that's a move. I can't, however, say what is the move. Simmons suggesting pinning the capstone by capturing F3, which...
Yep, because the alternative would probably be to place at E2 for the horizontal threat, where there's only the capstone in the way. But that doesn't work now, because white's got a attack threat.
Yes.
That it has to answer to, and capturing F3 doesn't stop this.
Mm-hmm. If, however, if the wall does come across to B4 though, oh, it doesn't come across to B4, but if it did, that would actually stop the attack threat. It didn't though, so let's move on. The capstone moves down from E3 to E4.
Yeah, it's a bit risky with the 4 white flats, leaving them behind.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot of flats just hanging around there. I can see white places E2. That's just getting more influence. That's the word. Around the stack, and just kind of keeping it all going, making the horizontal threat a bit more dangerous.
Yeah, and exerting influence over that stack of black, of the on e3 with all the white prisoners.
For black here, I could see a d1, and then you've got a vertical threat going up through the D
Yeah.
and the E file. It's not a finished attack threat, but that's just
I
one more
see.
move.
Okay, not
And
an
then,
immediate one.
yeah. What do we see for black? We see a C4 minus. White's capstone isn't pinned anymore, I'd just like to note.
Yep. That's why
So
Simon suggested capturing f3 before. So white can move it, but maybe pwhaug hasn't quite realized that yet, or is waiting for the right moment to do that. Because as soon as he leaves that, black's just going to create another attack threat.
But
by
now
placing
white's
whatever he leaves
capstone
behind.
can move upwards to C3, gain back one of its prisoners, and put the capstone in a much more powerful position.
That's true. I think I also would like c4 because it would allow black to move its capstone back onto this tall stack on e3. So it wouldn't be able to defend it anymore.
C2 plus would also be attack threat, I'd like to say. Simmons suggesting it as well. Me and Simmons, we clearly think alike here. Okay. And we do see the C2 plus.
That's the attack threat. I didn't see it initially.
Yeah.
That is a little bit of a sneaky one, I think. That I hope black spots that. Otherwise, we'll see how it'll affect this.
Black doesn't spot
it. He doesn't see it. He makes a threat on his own. Is that the game? If pwhaug sees it, then that's over. And it'll be a draw.
Drum roll. Let's see. It's a moment of tension. Does pwhaug see the road?
He doesn't.
Doesn't see the road.
He doesn't see it. It's another attack threat, but white no, and he didn't see the attack threat from black. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. That is incredible. How could that? Oh no! Oh no!
Oh
I can't believe it. Oh, okay. That got really tense around the last.
Rough time. That is a rough time.
That is rough. Yeah. I think that was a definite. I like the second game much better than the first one because it was threats.
It didn't end in like 10 moves.
Both ways. Loved it. The first one was a little bit quick. That's right. I think it was 13 moves. But that one's good.
Yeah.
Solid play, except for that little last move from white. Yeah. But that was a tricky threat to see.
White's gonna be kicking himself there. That's ouch. That's painful.
Yeah.
Anyway, it happens to us all. Okay. So
it was a fun game, and thank you very much for watching, everyone.
And
see you at one of the next games.
Yep. Thank you. Bye.